Hello, welcome. I'm the Raging Beard. It's been a little while since my last video, which was all about installing the next level racing motion platform into this cockpit, into this P1 rig. This is going to continue on from that, really looking at this motion platform and what it does. Obviously it moves the seat, but I mean how it takes the telemetry from sims and transfers that into specific movement, and look at the software itself and see how you can tweak it to individual effects and a few other bits and bobs. Chances are if you're watching this, you've either got one or you're thinking about getting one, and in which case you've no doubt seen all the review videos out there of it. My 2 cents, it's awesome. It's a compact unit and I couldn't be without it now. If I try and drive without it on, by Wreckfest, which doesn't support it, or just a game where I just don't have it on for whatever reason, I can't. It's horrible. I've never had motion sickness from like VR, but I imagine it's what it feels like when I come to a turn. My body is surprised when I don't feel motion, so it's invaluable to me now. I couldn't be without it. The level of immersion is obviously immense. Do I think it helps you with cues on traction loss and so on? I don't know about that. Maybe for some people. I don't know for me if it really makes that much odds, but I just love the immersion and how good it feels to simulate forces somewhat. A lot of reviews say how quiet it is, and I think that's relative to other motion platforms, because it's not quiet. It isn't, and I'll capture some noise just of it doing what it does. I live on the first floor out of 3, so I've got a neighbour above, below and to the side, and to be fair, using it all times of night, literally throughout the night, I haven't yet had a knock on my door saying what you're playing at, and I've had it quite a long time now. But this is, it's concrete floor and ceiling, but they're not soundproof. You do hear the odd thing now and then from a neighbour, but using it myself in the dead of night, it sounds so loud, and you do need to be wearing earphones, I would say, really. If I try and play it with just sound from speakers, this is really loud. So yeah, don't get it thinking you've seen reviews saying it's quiet. Yeah, it might be quiet relatively speaking, but it's not. If you've got other people in the house, you might have some issues. Right, installing it. So you've seen the video. I assume you've seen the video of me putting it in P1. That was a bit of a hassle. It's all going to be dependent on the rig you've got. I might be changing that soon, how it's fitted, with an easy way of sliding the whole thing back and forward within the rig. The reason I want to do that is so I'm far enough away from the uprights and so on to be able to use VR controls for flight sims and that, and still use the seat, because it'd be a shame to do flight sims just in my office chair when I've got a motion seat here. But at the moment, it's a faff. I'm hitting, well, obviously I can take the wheel off, but I'm hitting the other bits and bobs. But anyway, that'll be another video, and we'll see how that goes. And I've got a couple of solutions for that, a couple of ideas. So, in due course. Okay, so this is the platform manager. I'm not going to go through installing it and setting it up in regards to the software itself, but I will go through how to use it. Not connected at the moment, I haven't got it turned on, but VR headway, quick mention of that, it is good. Compensates for movement of the seat with regards to position in virtual reality. So without it on, if you're going around a banked curve and you're over like this, if you look down, your head's going to be coming out of your shoulder, but with headway on, it keeps it all in the right place. Bit of a downside is with just a seat mover, the steering wheel is going to be over here. Now it feels right, over here in the cockpit, but in reality you're like that. So it's a bit weird, might be weird at first, but like many things in VR, you tune it out and it just ends up feeling normal, and it's a lot better with it on, and especially in flight sims, you need it on. Without it, your head can be pretty much going out the window, and it's just stupid. It doesn't appear to work in iRacing at all for me at the moment. I don't know if that's for everyone or just some issue I'm having. I've emailed Next Level, they've said their engineers are looking at it, but a bit annoying because Sim says at Daytona at the moment, so I've just turned roll effect off really for now. Right, so but looking at VR headway, you just VR integration, you've got to have some sort of something in here, one of these, for it to be on, and when you start a game it will come up in green that it's enabled, and that's self-explanatory. I won't go through it. Then my dimension there might not be exact to my height and position from where it says. All I've done is in game change that until it felt good, until the effects felt good, because I haven't had anyone here actually to sit next to me and measure exactly. But yeah, it's all straightforward. It detects your Steam VR and your Oculus. So some people just don't run it. I don't get why you wouldn't. It's without it, yeah, your head can be out the window. Right, I just run this on my favourite screen, so any sim I've got and use, I've just added to favourites, and I just keep it on favourites, so this is just what I've got and use. Right, so let's turn it on. There we go. Right, things you can do. Tools and diagnostics, platform diagnostic. Let's move this up so you can see it. Now if you've got it in your cockpit and you want to make sure the extremities of movement, it's not going to hit against anything, like obviously you can have your shifter there, maybe your handbrake, whatever. You can drag these about. There we go. And it moves you diagonally, so that's moved me back right. And if I move that all the way there, that's just all the way back. That's as far back as it goes, and obviously if I move it there, that's front right. And I'm just about against my gear shifter, but not so much that is issues. I can actually push it away a little bit. So I'm on the limit there, that's fine. And likewise, okay, all the way forward. Over here. Now you get the idea, so okay, it's got a few other features I haven't actually used. Little G meter there. Pointless really. Get rid of that. There's another one. Where is it? This is actually quite cool. It's no good in VR, but yeah, it picks up obviously the info from the sim and gives you all your bits and bobs here, like a dashboard diagnostic, as it said. Pretty much nearly everything you could need, which is pretty good, and stuff for the motion platform. It's good they've included it. As I say, I only use VR. It's no good to me in VR, but there we go. Okay, so before we get into the ins and outs of what the effects do, I just wanted to quickly go over VR headway. So as it is, I'm on the bank here at Daytona, and this isn't even the biggest bank, but you can see I'm over a little bit. The chair's pushed me over a little bit. The steering wheel is still in the same place it was, in line with this, but when I look down, look, my head is not where it should be. The head's meant to be over here, but obviously that's not right, and under more extreme circumstances, you know, you're going out the window here, you're clipping the car, etc. Now if I turn on VR headway with the keyboard shortcut, you'll see it come up on the screen. By default it's usually on, but I've turned it off just to show it as like it is now. But if I turn it on, boom, motion compensation enabled, and it's moved it over. So my head is now where it should be, despite me being banked over. Now, yes, it's not lining up now in the steering wheel. You know, I'm a little bit like this, but you forget about that. You know, if you've got a VR, you know your brain sort of compensates. Like when you really get into a movie with subtitles, you can almost forget you're reading subtitles. Maybe a bit of an odd analogy, but I hope you get what I mean. This is the better solution than not having it on and being weirdly over. And now, as you can see, I've got it at a pretty decent angle here, where I'm lined up nicely with the motion platforms lined up nicely with the level of the car. Now, oops. Let's roll downhill, and you'll see what happens as the flat seat straightens up. So it's kept the steering wheel in the middle. Very clever stuff. So I'm not perceiving any displacement as the seat moves over. So I go up here, it all looks still straight ahead to me. And let me just demonstrate that with it off. Right, now let me demonstrate with it off. So obviously the steering wheel's in the right place as is here. But watch what happens now. I go up. Boom. Nasty. That's nasty, and it, as I say, it can be more pronounced depending on the track. And then, it's just sort of nasty as you move back over. Anyway, so that's VR headway now. Let me turn it back on. Now you've got a few settings. Ignore the sound of the seat as it moves me back and forward when I click on and off the game window. Let's turn on display capture here. And these are the adjustments you've got for VR headway. So the smoothness, you know, I'm not entirely sure what it smooths out. So let's give it a go. Let's put it all the way down. There's no starting, restarting of the game, etc. Any change you make on the motion platform manager, it's just done in real time. Let's go back to Project Cars 2 and hope we have no issues going back and forward. It has crashed before doing that. So this is I actually can't hear the game, so nor what revs are going on and etc. So this is just a jittery mess. It's just a jittery mess now, whatever it's doing. I'm going to ignore the track, by the way. I'm just going to go around the oval. It's just, yeah, it's horrible. Where you can't play it like that. You just can't. Right, let's bring it down. And let's try it on the other extreme. Smoothness all the way up to 50. Back in. Oh Jesus! I haven't got the wheel turned on either. Force feedback. So let's go down and up. Feels pretty good. I don't see what the difference is. Okay, I don't know really what it's smoothing out. By default it's on 20, I never had an issue with that. Let's get around to the bank again. Let's kill a cone, add it. Right, it's come on and off. Right, there's no obvious change in head position. let's move over here, put it on default. Now if you just click on the number here, it'll put it to whatever the default is, straight to 20. Back in game. Alright, see is there any difference? No, that certainly feels no different. So yeah, I don't know really what it does, smoothing. I'm just going to leave it on the default. The other two options there, roll compensation and pitch compensation, are exactly as they sound. I find it's best just to have it on one. Pitch compensation isn't even a thing in driving games. That's going to be for flight sims, it seems. But from my use, I just use these, leave these on default. I haven't needed to change these. I get the actual amount of roll and so on correct by changing the motion effects here. So anyway, now it's going to be easier to demonstrate things not in VR, so let's get rid of the HMD and come back on the pancake screen. Okay, so here we are back on track now. I picked the Nordschleife, I know it'll be bumpy, etc. I've picked Formula Car because it really feels the bumps and you get the acceleration, and obviously the braking is quite pronounced. I hope everything's fine now. I've got it set up here. I can't really hear what's going on. Sounds coming from a headset, but I'm just not wearing it at the moment. Everything is at default now. Now, as you can see, it's all on 1, and weight transfer bias is on 0. Let's quickly run through what these things are. You can see on the diagram, which gives it pretty self-explanatory. Overall intensity is the gain, basically, the volume of the effect of everything. Bumps intensity, bumps. And we'll try to turn them all up and down as we go. Roll intensity is the roll of the car as you're going around banks. As opposed to sway, this as far as I know, and we might find differently, but sway is if you're going round a bend and it throws you out. So obviously the platform's still essentially doing the same thing, but it's from a different effect, from the different telemetry it's reading. So sway is different to roll. Heave is to do with up and down, so like going over a sausage curb and stuff, and is very pronounced, does need turning down. Pretty much everyone says that when you read about other owners of the V3. And surge is back and forward, so that's to do with accelerating, braking and gear changing. You can feel the gear changes. Now at the very bottom you've got weight transfer bias. That's to do with how much you feel acceleration going back compared to braking going forward. So for example, if I pushed it all the way on the negative, when you accelerate you would go back a long way, but when you brake you wouldn't go forward so much, and vice versa. Push it all the other way, when you brake you're really going to go forward. So you've got to find a compromise there. So as is, by the way, as with other videos that aren't to do with driving, excuse the performance. I've actually got it, I'm usually in VR and I've got a big screen in front of me, and it's just a tiny window actually what I'm looking at here. It's really awkward. So let's first off go with volume. I'll go ahead and cut the sound, and I'm just going to drive along a bit and see the volume of the platform. Now the microphone is just up here in front of me. Alright, so I'm just going to shut up and have a listen. Probably killed the car a little bit there. That's with everything on default, and the usual thing is to turn effects down. You don't need it as high as it all is. A little goes a long way. I don't know how loud that comes across. I'll check that myself on the video later, but to me it is pretty loud. And it might be I'm a big fat guy and the chair's got to work harder, so maybe if you're light it's not as noisy. That could be a thing, I don't know. So we've got that out of the way. Let's move on to start fiddling with effects here. I don't know whether I've damaged the car there, I probably have. Let's just restart the session so it doesn't interfere with anything. As I say, ignore any driving off track. I can't see what I'm doing, but it's not about that. So overall intensity, yeah, we don't need to really go through what that does, it's quite obvious. Right, weight transfer bias, okay. So let's put it, in fact look, on normal. Oh, I've got to click on the game, that helps. I did think about trying to do a side-on view and stuff of the seat, but I gave it a little go, and it's just, I think it's better for me to just try and explain what's going on, because visually it's not easy to convey what the seat's actually doing, if that makes sense. You would think that you could just watch it moving about and it'd be obvious, but no, it's better me just sat in it explaining. Anyway, so we got it on brake bias 0. Now as I accelerate, you can see me move back there. I don't know how obvious it is on this view. Let's have a look. Yeah, so you can see me move back some, and then as I brake, you move forward some. Obviously if you're at steady speed, you neither forward nor back, and then as I brake, you go forward some. Now if I put that all the way into the negative, accelerate now, seems like I can barely reach the pedals, etc. And when I brake, I'm not really moving forward. Oh my god, that's just silly. That's just silly, because when it goes all the way back, it's it's a long stretch, and then very quickly that sudden surge of acceleration is over, so it moves you back forward again. Now let's put it the other way. So look, I'm accelerating here, not moving back barely at all, well if anything. Alright, I'm going to go on the brakes. Okay. Yeah, that's putting me granny mode right up to the wheel. So that's pretty obvious there what that does. I've found I've either kept it as is there, or often I've just nudged it back a little bit, because by default it seems to naturally bias towards braking, but so I fiddle between the two. Now playing F1 2018, which I don't really play a lot, but I have moved the weight transfer bias back quite a bit, to cheat more of an F1 position, because generally a lot of the time you are under acceleration, and if you don't go too extreme with it, it will just, it's a bit of a cheat to have you a bit further back. It's not perfect, but it does work to some degree. But yeah, I generally stick to default or -1. Okay, so let's start going through the sliders now individually. I'm going to leave overall intensity just on the default 1. Starting off with bumps, keep that on the default, everything else down to 0. Now as I understand it, I'm going to feel nothing here. We've got bumps on, but no, nothing here on the seat, on the grass, nothing. Because you need something else on, you need an actual effect on for it to come through. Now I don't actually know which one, what I need to turn on to feel bumps. So let's try turning just roll on. So we'll have bumps and roll on. Well, that's annoying now, I've got to keep clicking back and forward. No bumps. No bumps. The bumps aren't tied to roll. Okay, so let's get back on it. Turn roll off. I reckon they're tied to heave, which, as you can see from the diagram, is up and down, and can be very intense and does need turning down. So, bumps and heave on. Right, yeah, here we go. And it is violent, quite violent. I think I've gone grass. So they're tied together now. So yeah, to have any bump feel coming through, you have to have some heave on. Obviously, as you can see on the diagram, bumps isn't listed there because it's not a force. It has to be translated via heave. Now, heave on its own, I'm just going to switch to, because they're linked, I'm going to skip roll for now, move on to heave on its own. Let's turn bumps off, keep heave up, see what happens here. So yeah, so no road bumps feel, but I think we're still going to feel things like curb, yeah, curb, yeah. So we're still getting bits coming through. Yeah. So yeah, so heave is literally about the up and down as you're going over a curb and stuff. So you can set them independently, that makes sense. You can lower bumps while keeping going over a curb at the same, or you could lower how much a curb hits but put the bumps up. I don't know how much, I don't know if any of these are canned effects, like is bumps some sort of canned effect, because that felt pretty good there, just having actual just heave on without bumps at all. But as I said, I've been keeping bumps quite low. Let's go with just roll on. This is going to be, I mean, on a banked track, that's pretty self-explanatory. Let's see if there's anything coming through from roll just on a flat track like this. I don't think, yeah, going left and right like that isn't really, that I think is going to be sway. So the car's level here, so if the car's level, that's literally all roll is. It's not to do with simulating any G or anything. So it's moving a tiny bit because obviously there is variation here, a very tiny amount. And that is a nice thing about this platform. It does have very minute, very detailed sort of movement in it. So yeah, it's going left and right a little bit there. So that's pretty self-explanatory. You know what that would be. Now, because I think they may be linked again, I'm going to now go to sway intensity. I'm going to put this on 0 and put sway on. Now I wonder if you get any effect without roll on. I wouldn't be surprised if you... Oh. No, you do. Yeah, no, you do. Okay. Yeah, it's literally, as you can see, throwing me left and right. Yeah, okay. So they are independent of each other. So the only two linked so far appears to be bumps and heave. So they're totally independent, so you can just set them up independently. Now, let's just stop. Right, let's move on to the last really we have here. Let's get this off. Surge intensity. Now that's back and forward. So that is the acceleration, deceleration. Without that on, obviously you're getting nothing. You're static. But now, yeah, I'm moving back. I'm feeling the gear change. Quite a violent gear change. Obviously, it's different per car. It would be nice. Sometimes I want surge up, but I don't want such a violent kick from changing gear. It'd be nice if you could lower the gear change effect, but I don't think that's possible. I don't think it's actual effect. I think it's taking the telemetry from the car doing that, and you can't tell it just to turn that down, because how's it going to know when that movement is purely from the gear change? If that makes sense. So I don't think there's any way of doing that. It's not a big issue, but so with just surge intensity, yeah. Yep, there's obviously no left or right. It's amazing how just that on its own adds, really, you know. You're going to be hearing the wheel there. I can't, you know, I'm not going to try going around without the wheel on at all. So that's it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to go through. All I'd say here we've learned from this, first and foremost, bumps and heave go together. Roll I have set up, as I said, in VR, to a point where I'm level, where the seat I feel is at the same angle as the car. So the dash, you know, trying to look what I'm doing on camera, so my head isn't at a harsher angle than the dash. It all lines up, and I had that at 0.7. I had the over intensity down to 0.75. This is all subjective, obviously. You might love it a lot more, you might love it a lot less, but those two things, I know I had a good setup like that, so I'm going to leave them and keep them as they are. Okay, so this is how I've been running things lately. Overall intensity I've just turned down a little bit. I mean, I suppose it doesn't really matter, you could leave that at 1 and lower everything else a little bit more, but this is just what I've ended up on. Bumps, yeah, I have reduced a lot. I would like to know how much of that's come through telemetry, or is it like something on a force feedback steering wheel where you can have a canned effect. And heave I've lowered because, yeah, that can be quite violent. I'm going to try turning bumps just off, just no bumps, and just leave heave on. Do I feel I'm still getting anything from the road? I mean, I still am. Still getting, oh, hello. It's even on the grass, it goes, so look. Let's go over the grass here. So I'm still getting a little bit of movement. perhaps there's something to be said for really lowering bumps. And like, conversely, let's whack bumps up. Go back in. I mean, it's just jittering this. And what did I have it on? Point. Find it on 4. Now, you can make as many presets as you like, really, per game. So I could do another Project Cars 2 preset within the manager of a specific car and track, save it, name it. You know, you could have ones specifically for Formula cars that's got a lot less on maybe sway and stuff. Make another preset for a rallycross and so on, and just so you don't have to fiddle with sliders each time. I try and just get something that's generic overall that I'm happy with. At the end of the day, it's just one of those things that you could just spend forever and a day tweaking. Not what I'm doing. Forever and a day tweaking instead of enjoying. You know, like many a thing on PC and sim racing, quite specifically. So I just get it to a point, and then you just got to enjoy it. I've knackered the car here, haven't I? I get the impression that bumps is just a canned effect. I mean, look at me going away on here. And now let's turn off bumps. Back in. You're still getting movement. And actually, I tell you what, back there, that looked, the little movement was in time with the car. It was dipping as it was going up and down, dipping a little bit. With bumps on, it's just a bit of a muddy mess. But there, that was interesting. It looked like I could feel it as it's doing it. Ignore the wonky steering wheel there. So you know what, I'm now thinking bumps are just something you don't need to have on, right? I feel that maybe I don't need to have on. I mean, in the set of Corsa, I certainly don't have bumps and effects on the wheel. I want all the raw stuff coming through direct drive wheel. The genuine feel, not the can stuff that's added on. And I think that might be the same with bumps. I could turn out to be totally wrong, and it's taking something specifically from telemetry and transferring it through bump effect, but I think that felt better just having heave on, which is interesting. So anyway, a lot of this, as I say, this is all very subjective. Some people buy a new TV and love it with true motion on and saturation and all that nonsense up to the hilt. Others like me like to try and get it a bit more realistic, as it should look, or as it should feel in this case. Others might really want subdued. There's no right or wrong, is there, at the end of the day? Right, the other settings before I forget, obviously SFX, rev limiter. Other games, you can have more there. You can have like wheel slip feel. I think iRacing has got that. Let's have a look. If I click on iRacing, yeah, you got a few here. Rev limiter threshold. Why you wouldn't have that on 100%? I don't know. You don't want it coming on before you're at the red line. But let me go into back into here. So SFX, pretty self-explanatory. Motion post processing. What this does is enable you to limit the movement at the extreme ends, or in fact it's easier just to show you in graph form. So as I change linearity, right, this up and down line, that's effectively the output through the seat. This horizontal one is what it's receiving from the gain. That makes sense. So when you have it up here, it's 1-to-1. So at the full extreme, it'll put out the full extreme telemetry. It will put it out as a full extreme movement. As you lower it, see along this horizontal line, so here at 100%, so 100% when the game is receiving 100% telemetry to say bank hard left as far as you'll go, I've now limited the movement to, you know, about 40-odd%. So instead of being all over here, it's about here. But while it's on this curve, why that matters is you could still have 1-to-1 lower down. So for lower down movements, it's more accurate. A lot of people, I probably haven't explained that very well, or might have made a mistake of my explanation. A lot of people seem to use it and like to limit the movement. I don't need it. I don't really see the point. For me personally, again, it's subjective. I mean, there could be an example where you've got a space issue, where you've got peripherals and that, where on the full range of movement you're going to come into contact with them, push against them, whatever. You can already narrow the field of which the seat moves using this, and you just might not be like getting thrown that far. And gain, that changes where, I know offset, sorry, changes whereabouts that the drop off is. So if you've got it all the way up there, obviously it's only the very extreme that's being affected. It's all the way down here, it's quite early on, it tapers off. Gain, you could just make everything harsh. Obviously, that's gain always is, the ups or downs it. I mean, if you have it fully linear and then do the gain, so at 50% of the game's output, I'm going to be 100%. But why you would do that, I don't know. You're effectively clipping. I mean, anything after that is just pointless. So, and that's the same, there you go, for roll, post-processing, pitch, post-processing. But I like to leave it. You can even go negative here. What circumstance that actually is for, I'm not sure. I guess there is, or it wouldn't be there, but don't recommend it. Right, other things to mention. It seems to be on none of the driving sims, there's no effect for pitch. You see roll intensity, but there's no pitch intensity. Right, so I reposition onto the crest of a hill here, so I'm aiming up, and what I mean being no pitch, no telemetry seems to be taken regarding pitch and output through the seat, is that I'm now just static in the middle, you know, in almost the centre position. I'm not leaning back because I'm aimed uphill. Likewise, if I go slow enough here that I just roll, acceleration isn't a factor, so I'm not moving back and forward from acceleration. Now I'm going to start to go downhill. The seat isn't moving, I'm not pitching forward. So it doesn't matter what you're going up or down, there is no movement. in that regard from driving games. In flight games, yes, there are. Obviously, you need it. You know, otherwise it'd be pointless. But in post-processing, you do have pitch post-processing here, so I think you can just ignore that, really, I believe, for driving. If I go out, click on Aerofly, yeah, you've got pitch intensity. So, yeah, there is no up and down. Now, the only other thing, the only thing I wish they had is to do with VR headway. I didn't demonstrate it, I meant to. Yeah, as you accelerate, it brings the cockpit back with you, which isn't so bad. What I don't really like is under braking or under heavy braking, especially something with extreme high performance brakes, as you brake, everything moves forward and it's not quite in perfect sync. I've got it as close as I can by adjusting those numbers in the VR integration bit, you know, where you set the height and the back and forth distance, but it's not perfect. Now if you turn off just a surge, that doesn't happen, so it's obviously linked to that, the backward and forward, and it just feels better. What I would like to have is the ability to lower VR headway's effect on surge. So when I brake, I don't want to worry completely about the cockpit moving away from me. I don't mind moving forward toward it a little bit. And as I say, if you turn surge all the way off, it does feel better, but you're not getting the back and forward motion in the chair. So there's a compromise. You can lower the surge a bit so it doesn't happen as much, but you don't get it feel as much. So that's just something I thought I'd mention, and I will ask Next Level about it. Is it a possible thing they can do, or whoever is responsible for VR headway? I don't see why it couldn't be added, but who knows. Right, I don't think there's really anything else I'm going to bother going through. I'm sure there's a lot I've missed, maybe things I've got wrong, but I've explained things as best I can. The main takeaways: bumps linked to heave. You need heave on to feel bumps. You don't need bumps on to feel heave. And it seems to me bumps may just be an effect. Heave is the genuine telemetry. Yeah, but if you find any sweet setups, please put them in a comment. You know, I'm happy to try other things. Take advice on this. I am still pretty all new to motion. Totally in love with it. Wouldn't be without it. Hands down recommend it to anyone. And I'll be uploading another video in due course as to how the mounting may be changing, which might be of interest to other similar cockpit owners. So for now, I hope that's been of some value. If not, tough, you're still here, so you know, you've wasted your time as much as I've wasted mine. Right, all the best, and catch you later.